For some reason, we enjoy getting scared. At the moment, it's not a good feeling as you're on edge and overall just waiting for the pop out or jump scare to happen. And then afterward, the relief and laugh at it all is certainly a good time. Usually people feel this watching a movie or going through a haunted house, but sometimes a very select few decide they want to take things to the next level. Just watching a character being hunted by an evil entity isn't enough. No, they need to control that character, which only gets the player in this case even more invested than a regular old movie or TV show. And over the years, games have certainly gotten scarier and scarier, which is why we're counting down the top 10 scariest moments in horror games. Welcome back to Top 10 Gaming, guys. I'm your host for this one, Jared Bronstein. And before we get into it, let me know in the comments down below the scariest game and sequence you've ever experienced. For me, I'd say it was when I was in a quads game of Warzone, 4v1, top of the house, whole team was below me. It was scary. I killed one guy, downed another one, and then I got destroyed. As always, this list isn't in any particular order. It's not best to worst or worst to best, just a general list of 10 of the scariest out there. So as long as they made this list, it's nice. It's an accomplishment. Starting us off at number 10, we got Resident Evil and the zombie dogs. Although the game's graphics aren't necessarily the best, that really doesn't matter because when you're not expecting to be scared, even in the slightest, and something jumps out, you're bound to your pants. While walking through the hallways of what you'd think would be a safe space, these dogs just burst through the glass windows and start chasing you. It's not even the chase that will get you, but just the unexpected attack, as normally in these games, you could sense when something is about to happen. This attack came out of nowhere, and to this day, gamers are still talking about how they needed to throw out their fresh pair of undies because, well, let's just say it's never good to wear white while playing horror games, so we'll just leave it at that. Moving on to number 9, we got Dead Space 2 and the needle in the eye. Doesn't matter how many times you played the game or watched this specific scene, it's never easy to do. When he lays down and his eyes are pried open, I can't help but think of the scene from A Clockwork Orange, which has likely scarred me for the rest of my life. Even if you haven't seen the movie, the idea of someone being held down and having their eyes opened by a machine is a scary thought. Couple that with the mission to stick a goddamn needle in Isaac Clarke, the protagonist's eye, and we've got ourselves one of the scariest horror game moments ever. As you're trying to get the needle right in the middle of his eye, Clark's heart rate starts to spike, which just adds to the intensity of the moment. His eyes start moving faster as you take longer to complete the task, and if you miss, well, it's not a pretty sight for either of you. Even if you complete the task without killing the man, it's not easy to watch as you can see a needle make its way through his pupil. Yeah, it's gross. At number 8, Bioshock and the dentist office. I didn't know if I should title this one the dentist office or the dentist attack, because, well, it's just that. You're walking to an old dirty dentist's office, and at first, you see an empty chair. That's when the room starts filling with a smoke or fog, I guess it is, and you see a corpse of something laying in the dentist's chair, appearing seemingly out of nowhere. It seems this is a theme of the game, because as you make your way around the office searching the cabinets, it's not long before something else just jumps out at you. By the time you get to the corner of the room and pick up another item, it starts to fill with that same smoke or fog, and the second you turn back around, a dentist is there beating your head in. Like most of Bioshock, this is just another one of those quick jump scares, and although the dentist isn't hard to take down, I don't know anyone who actually enjoys going to the dentist, so if you're given an opportunity to beat one down, I mean, now at number 7, we got Fear and Alma. It seems quite evident that across the board, one of the scariest things in horror movies are creepy little girls. Going back to Alma, she is just that, the ghost of a creepy little girl who haunts you throughout the game, or so it seems. In the first game, it's unclear if she's real or is able to somehow manifest herself into the mind of the game's protagonist. Either way, she appears when you least expect her, and appears to be a fan of jumping out and scaring you half to death as you climb a ladder or walk near the vents. And when you're invested in a game like this one, you tend to forget that you're being haunted or maybe chased by a creepy little girl who looks like she could be sisters with Samara from The Ring. To no surprise, that's usually when she comes out at ya, when you completely forget that she exists in the first place. Yeah, so, I mean, talk about a fun time, you know? Sit around with the friends, boom, you just shit. At number 6, we got Silent Hill 2 and the Pyramid Head intro. It seems Pyramid Head is a fan favorite horror villain, so there was no way I was going to leave him off this list. In Silent Hill 2, you're introduced to the character when the game's protagonist, James, walks in on Pyramid having his way with two mannequin looking things. I think that's what they are. At this point, he hides in the closet hoping that Pyramid there won't see him, but to no surprise, Pyramid makes his way over to said closet while dragging a corpse of whatever it was he was pleasing himself with. Yet before Pyramid can attack, James loads his pistol and starts firing shots, scaring off the triangular monster, and even though you're not in control of the game at the time, as it's a non-playable scene, it's still scary enough that you think about it quite often. And there's a reason why Pyramid Head has become such a popular character, or villain, or monster in the gaming community. He's terrifying. Halfway down number 5, we got Slender and the 8 pages, and seeing Slender Man, of course. It doesn't matter how often you play the game, every single time that he gets close and your screen starts going fuzzy, your heart rate starts to spike. At this point, you don't need to try and spot him before he kills you, but it's usually too late by then. Even before he finds you, the idea of walking through a dark forest collecting 8 pages with just a flashlight is pretty terrifying. But as you can imagine, the visuals and audio together are what really make this a grand slam. The crunchy leaves you walk over, the footsteps in that small building, and even the fact that the flashlight's battery runs out fairly quickly, meaning meaning you aren't using that little light the whole time. The entire game is scary, but there's nothing worse than knowing he caught up to you, and as we know, he usually does. Bringing us to number 4, PT and the Talking Fetus. Although the full game was never developed, the playable teaser was still more than enough to get people talking for years to come. Directed by the greats in Guillermo del Toro and Hideo Kojima, this was going to potentially be one of the best horror games of all time until it never saw the light of day. Although it was intended to be a part of the Silent Hill series, this teaser saw the users playing in first person, walking through dark hallways, and getting locked in rooms once they stepped foot inside. Although the entire playable teaser scared gamers, the one moment that really stuck out was the talking fetus, moving in weird ways while berating you, or the game's character, for getting fired from your job and turned into alcohol. The entire scene is quite scary, as the dirty sink the fetus is in doesn't even remotely describe how unsettling the entire situation is. I'd say it's something you need to experience to understand, but unfortunately the teaser was removed from the PlayStation Store years ago. However, if you do have a PlayStation with that game on it, you can sell it for a pretty penny. Now on to number 3, Amnesia, The Dark Descent, and the Water Monster. Odds are you've watched reaction videos to this sequence, but put simply, it's quite terrifying. You don't even know what's chasing you, but you know there's something coming for you, and the second you see the footsteps in the water, well, you better start going the other way. You have no weapons or any way of defending yourself, nor could you really even understand or see what's attacking you, meaning the only option left is to remove yourself from the situation. But while you run away, of course, you hear all kinds of unholy sounds, and the dimness of the entire area that you're running through just makes it that much harder, and of course, scarier. What's there not to love? At number 2, we got Resident Evil 4 and the Regenerators. These things appear to be indestructible, and although the thermal scope can help you find the parasite and take them down in an easier fashion, still they suck. Using a regular gun will do some damage, but they're called Regenerators for a reason. Aside from that, when you blow their heads off, tentacles start to grow and flail around. Well, they make these gross sounds that I wish I hadn't heard and would not recommend you guys look into. They're almost a mix of a zombie with an octopus with who knows what else. They are killable without the thermal too, but it takes a lot of bullets and potentially some fire, as I saw a few videos where these things were literally being blown up. Still, it's what nightmares are made out of. Now at number 1, we got Dead Space and the first necromorph attack. To start the game, Isaac Clarke, the protagonist, gets locked in a room separated from the rest of his team. At this point, you know everything is bound to go to sooner or later, and to no surprise, sooner. You then watch as your teammates get dismembered by these monster-looking praying mantis type things. However, when you first get into it with one, you're bound for a scare because you soon realize these things tend to play dead. So you never know when a not dead corpse is going to jump behind you and try tearing you apart limb from limb. Just adds to the excitement. And there you guys have it for the top 10 scariest moments in horror games. Let me know your thoughts on this list down below, and if you'll be playing any of these games as we inch closer to Halloween. I've been your host for this one, Jared Bronstein, and we'll see you guys in the next video. For me, I'd say it's when I'm, For me, I'd say it's when I was, in quads. For me, I would say it's when I was in a... Fuck. For me, I can't even say my own story. He's just... Huh. I don't know what the fuck that was.